What if the lake everyone believed could save them is actually a graveyard? From Season 4, Episode 4 may have just delivered one of the creepiest endings in the entire series. Because that final moment, when something massive rises from the water after the rope is pulled, changes everything we thought we knew about the so-called Lake of Tears. And if those really are bodies beneath the surface, then this town has been hiding its darkest secret in plain sight. But here's what makes this episode even more disturbing. The lake reveal is only one piece of a much bigger puzzle. The yellow suit man is no longer just a theory. Fatima may be building something far more dangerous than anyone realizes. Boyd discovers evidence that time itself is bleeding together, and Victor finally reveals the horrifying truth about what happened to Miranda. This episode wasn't just set up. It was a winner. From quietly telling us that the endgame has officially begun. Let's break down everything that happened and what that terrifying final shot really means. The yellow suit man is real, and Victor knows why. The episode opens with Boyd, Jade, Donna, Tabitha, Henry, and Ellis gathered in the sheriff's office, trying to make sense of the yellow suit Victor discovered. Up until now, the yellow suit man has existed in a strange limbo, part vision, part nightmare, part whispered myth. But Henry's reaction confirms something huge. Miranda painted him years ago. Before Henry ever entered this town, before he knew any of this was real, his wife had already seen this figure in her visions. That means the yellow suit man isn't some random manifestation or recent creation. He's been part of this place for a very long time. And Boyd's attempt to rationalize it, suggesting the suit could have belonged to an old resident, feels less like logic and more like denial. Because deep down, Boyd knows what we know. The timing doesn't add up. The suit appearing now means something has changed, and Jade immediately catches that. He points out the obvious. If this suit had been sitting there for years, someone would have found it. The fact that it appeared recently suggests the yellow suit man is actively moving through the town again. That matters because this episode confirms he's not just haunting the town, he's escalating. Henry is being shielded from the truth. There's something quietly tragic happening with Henry. He's standing in a nightmare his wife spent years trying to warn him about, and everyone around him is keeping secrets. He doesn't know Tabitha experienced Miranda's memories. He doesn't know how deeply Miranda's fate is tied to the town's cycle, and he definitely doesn't know the full extent of Victor's trauma. Boyd's decision to keep Henry in the dark is understandable. They're trying to avoid overwhelming him, but in classic class. From fashion, withholding information never ends well. This town punishes secrecy, and Henry is walking straight toward a truth that's going to shatter him. Jade's mushroom experiment reveals something important. Jade taking the mushrooms seems ridiculous on the surface, but symbolically it's huge. For 4 seasons, Jade has been the skeptic trying to brute force logic into a place that runs on nightmare rules. This is the moment he finally surrenders to the supernatural. He's no longer trying to outthink the town, he's trying to experience it. And yet the mushrooms appear to do nothing, at least at first. That's important because from rarely gives immediate payoffs. The lack of instant results suggests the mushrooms may be triggering something subtle, opening a door. Jade won't realize it has been unlocked until later. The real clue comes from Boyd's frustrated line about them still not understanding the rules. That line feels deliberate. The writers are acknowledging the audience's frustration while also signaling that the answers are finally close. They're telling us the confusion is intentional. The pieces are starting to align. Tabitha finally chooses to believe Ethan. One of the strongest emotional beats in the episode is Tabitha deciding to follow Ethan's lead. For most of the series, Ethan has functioned as the town's accidental prophet. His childlike interpretations often sound absurd until they turn out to be true. And this episode doubles down on that. When Ethan says Jim told him the Lake of Tears is the key, Tabitha initially dismisses it. But after everything she's seen, the boy in white, the bottle tree, Miranda's memories, disbelief is becoming impossible. Her choice to trust Ethan isn't just about finding the lake. It's about finally accepting that this town communicates through impossible channels, and that Jim may still be guiding them somehow. That emotional shift matters, because it puts Tabitha directly on the path toward the episode's horrifying final revelation. Julie's story-walking theory might explain everything. Julie and Randall's subplot may seem disconnected, but it's actually one of the most important developments this season. The Storywalker concept reframes how this town works. Julie's theory is fascinating. The town is leaking into reality. Fragments escape through dreams, stories, visions, and myths. That would explain Miranda's paintings. It would explain Ethan's instincts. It would explain why so many elements of this place feel archetypal, like half-remembered folklore. If true, the town isn't just trapping people physically, it's bleeding into human consciousness across time. That's terrifying. And Julie's failed bookmark experiment proves something even stranger. She can access different timelines or chapters. She just can't anchor herself there, yet. The fact that she sees the yellow suit man eating someone's liver is crucial. Not because it's shocking, though it absolutely is, but because of his reaction. He doesn't recognize her. That suggests that their earlier encounter in episode 1 happens later in his personal timeline. In other words, the yellow suit man may be moving non-linearly through time, just like Julie. And if that's true, then he may understand this town's temporal structure better than anyone. Chashed Sarah is being manipulated again. Sarah hearing the voices again is one of the creepiest developments this episode, because the task she's given is absurdly simple. Pour water, take a sip, pour it back. It sounds meaningless, and that's exactly why it's terrifying. This isn't about accomplishing something, it's about obedience. The yellow suit man, through Sophia, is testing control. He wants to know if Sarah can still be manipulated, whether fear can still override reason. And Sarah's compliance tells us something devastating. She's still vulnerable. The town doesn't need elaborate rituals to break people. It just needs doubt. This scene also reveals Sophia's true function. She isn't just hiding among the residents. She's actively destabilizing them. She's weaponizing their trauma, and that makes her one of the most dangerous threats the show has introduced. Fatima's golem is more disturbing than it looks. At first glance, Fatima building a clay golem feels bizarre, but symbolically, it's one of the richest scenes in the episode. A golem is traditionally created for protection, a being formed from earth, animated through intention. Fatima says she's creating it to sever her connection to Smiley, to replace fear with strength. But this is protection always comes with a price. The deeper implication is unsettling. What if she isn't creating protection? What if she's creating a vessel, something for Smiley to inhabit? Her statement that she can feel what he feels confirms their bond is still active. That connection wasn't broken after his birth. It evolved. And if Fatima is unknowingly shaping something physical for that connection to manifest through, she may be building the next monster. Kenny's suspicion that this isn't really Fatima anymore suddenly feels less paranoid. He might be right. Boyd's ring proves time is collapsing. The disappearing wedding ring might be the most underrated clue in the entire episode. Boyd finds Abby's ring, then discovers he already has it, and when he compares them, one vanishes. This isn't a hallucination, it's evidence. The infinity symbol engraved on the ring makes the meaning painfully obvious. Time loops, timeline overlap, reality bleed. The town is no longer maintaining clean separation between cycles. Different versions of events are colliding. That's why objects are appearing where they shouldn't, why memories feel unstable, why Julie can glimpse alternate chapters. The system is breaking down, and if the town's loop is unraveling, everyone trapped inside may be approaching either liberation or total collapse. Victor finally reveals what happened to Miranda. Then comes the episode's emotional gut punch. Victor tells Henry the truth. He knew the yellow suit man as a child, trusted him, thought he was just another resident, until he saw him eating Miranda. This changes everything. For years, we assumed Miranda died trying to escape, but no, she was hunted, consumed, and Victor witnessed it. That revelation explains his terror, his silence, his inability to process the yellow suit's return. For Victor, this isn't a mystery resurfacing. It's childhood trauma walking back into town. And for Henry, it's the horrifying realization that his wife didn't simply disappear. She was murdered by something he's now standing face to face with. What's really in the lake? Now for that ending. The rope, the bubbling water, the shape rising beneath the surface. So what is it? The dead body theory makes the most sense, and here's why. The Lake of Tears has been framed as salvation, a place of healing, escape, hope. That's exactly the kind of false promise this town weaponizes. If previous residents believed the lake was their way out, they may have entered willingly, only to drown, their bodies sinking, preserved beneath the surface. The rope suggests repeated attempts, people tying themselves together, trying to descend as a group, trying to reach whatever they believed was below. and failing. That would make the lake a perfect metaphor for this town itself. It offers hope, then consumes it. But there's another possibility. Those bodies may not be dead. They could be suspended, waiting, preserved between cycles. And if that's true, pulling the rope may have awakened something far worse than a corpse pile. It may have triggered the release of the town's buried past. Either way, one thing is clear. The Lake of Tears is real. And it is absolutely not what Ethan imagined. Which means next episode could reveal the single biggest secret From has ever hidden. And if those shapes beneath the water really are the dead, then the town has been keeping the evidence of every failed cycle right beneath the surface, waiting for someone to pull the rope. And now that they have, there may be no putting it back.